It is Infant Sorrow, the title of the poem, written by William Blake. It is a child's complaint against life. The child revolts against the restraints and restrictions by which he is bound. The poem is My mother groaned, my father wept, into the dangerous world I leapt, helpless, naked, piping loud, like a fiend hid in a cloud. Struggling in my father's hands, striving against my swaddling bands. Bound and weary, I thought best to sulk upon my mother's breast. The mother groaned with pain when giving birth to a child. My father wept. The father wept with anxiety when the mother groaned with pain. Infant Sorrow is a monologue in which the poet paints his own entry into this world. The poet draws on his observations of the behavior of infants and interprets their gestures to show that the baby is aware of the hostility he must encounter in the world and the resistance he must put up in one form or another. The birth is dire, a struggle for both the mother and the child. Once came out the infant, alarmed and blindly assertive, is now ready to do battle. He leaps into the world as though already alarmed and stands against the opposition of his father's hands and the swaddling bands imposed upon him by a world that is dangerous. Those who have watched a child's behavior know how, in his restless or rebellious moods, the child struggles in his father's arms. The child struggles to disengage himself from the clothes in which he is wrapped. He wants freedom of movement but feels restricted by the swaddling bands. Bands are strips of cloth. Swaddling bands are the pieces of cloth in which an infant is wrapped. Figuratively, the expression means the influences that restrain freedom of action or thought. The child finds himself tightly bound and tightly held. He begins to tire of his struggle. Ultimately, the child decides to rest on the mother's breast and suck milk. But he does so in a mood of frustration and resentment. Ultimately, child's resistance is of no use. Blake here condemns the fact that the natural energy of a child is repressed as soon as the child enters this world. The frowning expressions of the sucking child is interpreted in the last line as it indicates frustration and restlessness which he feels while deliberately assuming a passive role. In fine, the poem gives us an impression of childhood that is directly opposed to the picture we get in Blake's other poem, Infant Joy.